It's the very definition of luxury on a plate. What makes lobster so special, apart from its price? And why is it controversial? Whatever it is, lobster is not just an everyday dish, but rather something for special occasions.
Anyone that eats lobster should be happy and full of joy. But it's a great thing to eat, and it is expensive, but it's definitely something people should try.
Not only does he know everything about cooking lobster, he knows it right down to the last claw. Rick Toogood, head chef in Cornwall, England. In his restaurant, Prawn on the Lawn, in the fishing town of Padstow, the shellfish is served up fresh off the boat.
A more traditional way to eat the lobster down here would either be roasted with garlic butter over it, or even just boiled, served cold, nice bit of garlic mayonnaise, some local bread and a bit of butter, but we like to do something a bit more exciting.
Rick will show us exactly how later. First, the chef fetches his freshly caught lobster from the harbour 300 metres away. Cornwall is one of the most important regions for lobster fishing in Europe, where around 250 tonnes are caught every year. The rocky coast is an ideal habitat for the species. Johnny Mert fishes directly off the coast.
So we use traps, so we call them pots, but it's a lobster trap. It basically it's got an entrance. It's got in an area that's called the kitchen, and there's a bait bag in there that we put oily fish, so mackerel or herring or pilchard, sardines, that type of fish, so that attracts the lobster. They go in, and then there's a one-way parlour. So it leaves the kitchen and goes into the parlour, and then it's trapped in the parlour. So, yeah, so that's how we catch them. I know, so comfortable.
By the way, living lobsters are not red. European ones are bluish, while the slightly larger American ones are more brown. As predators and scavengers, they live on the seabed and play an important role in the ecosystem. But the populations of European lobster are declining. That is why there are strict regulations for fishermen in the EU and the UK.
So we've got size limits on lobster. So we measure a lobster from its carapace. So a lobster is measured, and it's 90 millimetres in Cornwall, so that's 90 millimetres. So from the eye socket to the back of the carapace. Anything smaller has got to go back over the side. So on top of that, so quite often, especially this time of the year, the females will be carrying eggs. 20,000 eggs, 30,000 eggs. So if they're carrying eggs, we're not allowed to take them.
Here, a kilo of lobster costs up to €100. But lobster has not always been considered a delicacy. In the 18th century, it was prison food in the US. In Judaism, lobster is not considered kosher, and in Islam, shellfish are also haram, that is, forbidden. Lobsters are often cooked alive, and that's controversial, with some countries banning the practice. Studies show that the animal has a complex nervous system, but it is unclear whether they feel pain. Nevertheless, many chefs use more humane methods.
So if you were at home and you were just cooking one, then you would put it in the freezer for half an hour, and it almost completely numbs the lobster. But obviously in the restaurant environment where we're maybe doing 20 to 30 per day, we simply just put the knife through the top of the head. Yes, that's the most humane way we can do it in the volume that we're serving.
Timing is crucial for cooking. A few minutes too long and the meat will be as chewy as rubber.
The colour will change from that nice blue colour through to like a classic colour of a lobster, that pinky red colour. So we're going to take the lobster out. You can see the colour has changed now. And we're just going to cover the lobster with ice. This will speed up the cooling, so we don't get a tough lobster, and we can just leave it there for 10 minutes.
Rick cracks open the chilled shell with a sharp knife.
In the restaurant. So we split the lobster straight down the middle.
His take on the Cornish classic is served with an Asian-inspired butter with crispy chili oil and spring onions.
nice and generous. So the lobster is just going to go in the oven for about 10 minutes. Wow, that looks amazing. There we go. All the butter's melted, flavours have all come together. We're quite happy with simple flavoured butter over the lobster or in a nice salad, and let the lobster kind of speak for itself. Very few places actually serve lobster, so it's become this premium thing that you have on a special occasion. The enjoyment comes from like the theatre of it. So whether it's peeling prawns or like pulling out the meat from the lobster, it's just the theatre. It's not a usual, you don't really do that with meat and you don't really do that with vegetables. So there's the theatre of the meal and the lobster down in the middle of the table, and maybe if you're sharing it, people taking the claw and taking the meat out, and yeah.
Perhaps the luxury of lobster comes down to really consciously savouring it. What about you? Would you try this delicacy?